Welcome to your Branch Out podcast, where we explore communication, markets, digital behavior, and business signals shaping Southeast Asia. So, imagine pouring $1 million into this massive, highly polished influencer campaign, right? It captures millions of views.
Right, huge reach.
Yeah, huge reach, but it generates absolutely zero sales. And I mean, in 2025, if you were operating in Singapore, that isn't some hypothetical marketing disaster. It's a daily reality.
Oh, absolutely.
We are looking at a market where trust and credibility are just being entirely rewritten. The old playbooks are failing spectacularly.
Yeah, it is a brutal wake-up call for a lot of operators out there. We're actually tracking what we call the trust paradox across the region.
The trust paradox.
Right, consider the scale here.
Right.
Southeast Asia now has over 480 million connected users.
Wow.
Yeah, and you would think that this unprecedented level of digital exposure would lead to tighter relationships between brands and consumers,
Yeah.
But the reality is the exact inverse.
Wait, really? The inverse?
Yeah, hyperexposure has burst hyperskepticism.
Okay. That actually makes sense when you think about the sheer volume of noise. Like in earlier growth cycles, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, just having digital convenience.
Like a functioning app?
Exactly. A functioning app, a basic delivery promise, that was enough to win market share. Visibility was basically a proxy for legitimacy.
Right. If you were there, you were real.
Yeah, but now, when audiences are bombarded across 7 or 8 platforms daily, that credibility just fragments.
It really does.
Yeah.
They are no longer downloading an app just because they saw a targeted ad.
Right.
I mean, they are cross-referencing information, verifying claims through third-party forums. They're aggressively penalizing exaggerated marketing.
So the implication for the founders, the CEOs, and consultants listening to us today is pretty stark. Understanding a market-specific trust grammar isn't just some soft marketing exercise anymore. It is your core strategic infrastructure.
100%. And, before we put the Singapore market under the microscope, we have to establish the regional baseline here.
Oh, definitely. Because a trap I see cross-border operators fall into constantly is treating Southeast Asia as a monolith.
Yes, the classic mistake.
Like a startup builds a successful communication strategy in Jakarta and just assumes they can just copy-paste it right into Bangkok or Manila.
Which is, frankly, a remarkably efficient way to burn capital.
Yeah, exactly.
The signals show us that trust frameworks differ radically the moment you cross a border. Take Thailand, for instance.
Okay, what's happening in Thailand?
Well, trust there is deeply relational. It builds slowly and relies heavily on maintaining a respectful, culturally aware tone. You really cannot rush a transaction in Thailand without damaging the relationship.
Interesting. And how does that compare to, say, Indonesia?
So in Indonesia, the sheer scale changes the mechanics. Trust there relies on layered community proof. So peer discussions, local endorsements, and these really dense creator ecosystems.
And then you move to Vietnam, and that community warmth almost vanishes in favor of raw utility.
Yeah, it's highly transactional.
Right. The young, urban audiences there, they reward speed, precision, and performance. I mean, they don't care about your emotional brand story. They care if your logistics network can deliver in under 2 hours.
Exactly. And then contrast all of that with the Philippines.
Oh, right.
There, emotional resonance and visible empathy are the ultimate currencies. How human a brand sounds is totally decisive.
So if a logistics company faces a massive delay in Vietnam, they better have a technical fix immediately.
Yeah, immediate utility.
But if that same delay happens in the Philippines, an imperfect but highly empathetic, human apology can actually strengthen brand loyalty, right?
Like,
While silence creates instant distrust.
that's a perfect way to put it.
I always hear that classic Silicon Valley assumption, a great product sells itself anywhere.
Oh, I hate that phrase.
It is fundamentally untrue in this region. I mean, think about regional expansion, like packing for an international trip. You might have the most powerful, perfectly engineered laptop in the world.
But if you don't bring the right plug adapter, you aren't drawing any power. The machine is completely useless.
Right. You try to force a thick 3-prong plug into a 2-prong socket, you're either going to break the socket or get a shock.
Exactly.
If you take a highly direct, confident corporate message that works in Singapore and plug it into Thailand, you sound aggressive. If you plug it into Vietnam, you sound too abstract without immediate proof of speed.
Yeah, and let's use that to zoom in on the Singapore signal, actually, because it is arguably the most demanding socket in the region.
Totally.
We are looking at a population of roughly 5.85 million people, but there are 10.5 million mobile connections.
That is wild. That's 179% penetration rate?
Yeah, so the average person is running multiple lines.
Like a personal eSIM, a corporate line, maybe a dedicated connection for data roaming.
Exactly, and internet penetration is sitting at a massive 95.8%.
Wow. So basic digital access is no longer a differentiator in any capacity.
Not at all. The average Singaporean is spending 6 hours and 33 minutes online every single day. But look at how that time is distributed.
How so?
It's split almost perfectly down the middle. 3 hours and 17 minutes on mobile and an identical 3 hours on desktop.
Wait, I have to pause there because that 50-50 split directly challenges the whole mobile-first dogma that gets preached at like every single tech conference. If half of their digital life is on a desktop, these aren't just consumers casually scrolling on a train.
No, it reveals a total blending of work and life. The boundaries have completely collapsed.
Which means the context of how they receive your message is completely unpredictable.
Yeah.
Like your B2B prospect might be evaluating your heavy enterprise software on their smartphone while standing on the MRT during the morning commute.
Right.
And then at 2 p.m., while sitting at their corporate desktop, they are booking a restaurant reservation or buying groceries.
Exactly. And the implication here is severe. Because this digital infrastructure is practically flawless backed by universal 5G and heavy government tech initiatives, the expectations of the user are just sky high.
Yeah, in Singapore, trust is institutional. They expect total precision, transparency, and accountability from the brands they interact with.
You really can't hide a clunky interface behind we're a scrappy startup narrative here.
You definitely cannot. In a market where everything works, a minor service flaw or an inconsistent message draws disproportionate scrutiny.
Yeah.
Like if your payment gateway lags or your customer service bot gives a contradictory answer, the Singaporean consumer doesn't assume it is a mere technical glitch.
No, they assume it is a fundamental failure of your business operations.
They associate technical friction with corporate incompetence. So, okay, we have a hyper-connected, institutionally demanding population.
Right.
But where is their attention actually going?
That's the big question.
Because I was looking at the platform data, and there is a massive contradiction that marketers really need to wrap their heads around.
Oh, the time spent versus platform volume.
Yeah. The overall time spent on social media in Singapore actually dropped by 8.4% this year. It is now down to 2 hours and 2 minutes daily.
Right. Time spent went down, but the fragmentation went up. They are now spreading that shorter 2-hour window across an average of 7.2 different social platforms every single month.
Just think about the cognitive load of that behavior.
It's staggering. I mean, if you do the raw math, that's less than 17 minutes per platform per day.
They are context switching constantly.
Constantly. And when we unpack platform preferences, we see WhatsApp absolutely dominating total usage. Over 80% of the population uses it actively.
So that tells us that utility, direct messaging, and private group connections are the real priority.
Yes. But wait, if we look at where the time is actually burning, TikTok captures an average of 34.5 hours a month. YouTube is right behind it at almost 30 hours.
Okay, so WhatsApp dominates the frequency of the habit, but video-first platforms capture the volume of the attention.
Precisely.
I really want to challenge the standard marketing reflex here. Every agency tells founders you need to be everywhere. You need an omni-channel presence.
Right, be on every app.
But if users are skimming across 7.2 platforms in just 2 hours a day, context switching every 15 minutes, aren't brands just generating pure noise by trying to scale visibility on all of them?
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like walking into Lau Pa Sat Hawker Center at lunch hour.
With like 7 different stall owners shouting their menu at you simultaneously.
Exactly. Volume doesn't win in a crowded hawker center. The guy shouting the loudest just gives you a headache.
Yeah, you go to the stall with the longest queue of locals, or the one your colleague recommended.
That is the perfect visualization of the Singapore market right now. If your brand is trying to adapt its personality to fit the latest audio trend on TikTok while maintaining a corporate tone on LinkedIn while running direct response ads on Instagram,
You are fragmenting your own credibility. Frequent message shifts weaken trust.
So if spreading out is dangerous, what is the actual strategic move for a business operating here?
Well, consistency beats visibility. You have to exhaust the opportunities on your primary channels before chasing a shiny new platform.
Okay, that makes sense.
If your core audience is B2B, master your narrative and build undeniable proof on LinkedIn or via a direct WhatsApp newsletter before you even think about filming a short-form video.
Right.
In a market skimming 7 platforms in 120 minutes, A consistent, highly recognizable signal is your most valuable asset.
Let's follow the money, because where trust meets the wallet is where these theories really get tested.
Yeah, definitely.
We know where audiences are spending their 120 minutes, but how are businesses actually allocating their budgets to capture that time? Because the signals here completely dismantle the Western narrative around the creator economy.
Advertising spend in Singapore is incredibly telling. Total digital ad spend hit $1.94 billion this year.
Nearly $2 billion.
Yeah, but out of that massive pie, influencer advertising makes up only 5.5%. That is just $106 million.
Hold on, let's reconcile this. You just told me they spend 34.5 hours a month on TikTok.
Right.
That platform is built entirely around creators. How is influencer spend basically a rounding error in a $2 billion market? That feels totally contradictory.
I know, it feels contradictory until you separate the concept of attention from the concept of persuasion.
Ah, okay.
A famous key opinion leader dancing with your product will absolutely capture a second of attention on a feed. But the data shows programmatic advertising commands a massive 72.9% of the budget.
Wow.
Yeah, that is $1.41 billion.
Let's pause and define that for the operators listening who aren't media buyers.
Right.
What does that 72% programmatic spend actually look like in practice?
So programmatic advertising is automated, data-driven ad buying.
Yeah.
Instead of paying an influencer a flat fee to shout into the void and hope their followers care, an AI is analyzing user behavior in milliseconds.
Right.
It places a highly specific, utility-driven ad exactly in front of a user at the exact moment they are demonstrating intent.
So instead of a lifestyle blogger holding up a tube of sunscreen, it's a dynamic ad for that sunscreen appearing on a weather app the moment the UV index hits a certain threshold in the user's specific neighborhood.
That is exactly the distinction. It intercepts intent rather than interrupting entertainment. And the reason it takes 72% of the budget is because in Singapore, trust is profoundly practical.
It's not hype-driven.
Not at all.
Yeah.
63.1% of internet users here do brand research on social media, but they are not looking for celebrity validation. They're looking for specifications, return policies, and user reviews.
I want to see how this practical trust plays out in everyday execution, because Singaporeans spent over $5 billion on consumer goods online this year.
Right.
How does a brand win that practical consumer?
Just look at local retail giants like NTUC FairPrice. They are operating in a highly saturated e-commerce landscape where 54.3% of shoppers are driven by free shipping and 42.6% are driven by discounts.
Pure utility. I mean, no one is buying groceries online because they feel emotionally connected to the brand narrative of a cabbage.
Exactly. FairPrice isn't trying to win market share by hiring influencers to make flashy grocery haul videos. They win through the utility of their Scan and Go app features, which respects the consumer's time.
Right.
They win through reliable 2-hour delivery windows. They solve a practical logistical problem flawlessly every single time.
They replace persuasion with proof.
And that is the lesson for any business entering Singapore. Dependable execution is worth infinitely more than emotional branding.
So true.
If you want to grow, the data indicates that reaching an intent-driven consumer with a factual programmatic solution works significantly better than paying for hype.
You know, we can't talk about automated solutions and data without addressing the fastest changing variable in the market.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, AI. Because AI is forcing a massive, immediate change in how executive leadership has to communicate.
Oh, AI is the ultimate double-edged sword for trust right now. It creates incredible operational efficiency, but it also creates profound synthetic uncertainty.
The local signals on this are loud. 71.4% of Singaporeans explicitly state they are concerned about misinformation.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, specifically about deciphering what is real versus what is fake online. And they are holding this fear while living in an environment where AI tools are seeing explosive growth.
Right. ChatGPT alone is pulling 310 million unique monthly visitors globally.
Yeah.
The friction here is palpable. Singaporean audiences are highly tech literate. They accept and expect innovation. They know brands are using AI to optimize supply chains and write code, but they demand explanation. Opacity weakens confidence.
Put yourself in the shoes of a B2B buyer right now. The internet is suddenly flooded with automated articles, synthetically generated avatars, and AI-written white papers.
It's everywhere.
If I'm evaluating a $100,000 enterprise software contract and your marketing copy reads like it was generated by ChatGPT in 5 seconds.
You notice.
Yeah, I don't just doubt the copy, I start to doubt the legitimacy of the product. If you took a shortcut on your communication, did you take a shortcut on your security protocols?
Exactly. Corporate facelessness has become incredibly dangerous. When the market assumes everything polished is potentially synthetic, human accountability becomes a premium differentiator.
Which is fascinating.
This is why CEO and leadership communication now directly influences trust in Singapore.
Wait, are you saying a CEO's LinkedIn post matters more than $1 million ad campaign?
In terms of establishing baseline institutional trust, yes. Executives themselves are the ultimate trust signal right now.
Wow.
In a sea of synthetic content, a human leader standing visibly behind a company's actions provides the accountability the market is starving for.
So brands essentially face a binary choice today. You can use AI quietly, hope no one notices, and inadvertently breed suspicion.
Which they will.
Right, or you can use it visibly and have your leadership explain exactly how it supports your reliability and customer experience.
Exactly. A clear, factual statement from a founder or a CEO now affects investor confidence, consumer trust, and talent acquisition faster than any traditional PR push.
Because communication isn't just about selling anymore. Communication is market architecture. It is the structural integrity of your business.
Which is why the stakes for every piece of content have literally never been higher.
That brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with as you evaluate your own strategies for the rest of 2025. As the digital economy matures across Southeast Asia, the era of growth hacking your way to legitimacy is officially over.
It really is.
You cannot trick a highly literate, hyper-connected market into trusting you through sheer volume or clever algorithms. The institutions, the SME owners, and the founders who will actually dominate the next decade are the ones who view every single touch point, whether that is a programmatic ad placement, a WhatsApp business update, or a slightly unpolished but factual post from the CEO as a vital, load-bearing brick in the foundation of their credibility.
Beautifully said.
Trust is no longer a byproduct of your growth. It is the strict prerequisite for it.
This market is evolving fast, but the real opportunity belongs to those who understand how local trust is built before they try to scale visibility. That closes our discussion for today. Thank you for listening to Branch Out by Y Consulting, where we examine the signals shaping business across Southeast Asia. Keep watching the signals. We'll speak with you again in the next episode.